Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Okay, y'all. What's going on, everyone? I would like to welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of YouTube. Hold on. Okay. All right. Now let me do it again. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. In this case, this is my first ever live stream on June 24th, 2024, 24 hours before my 4-year birthday. So what better way than to come through with my first live stream than 24 hours before my birthday? So even though it's probably not too many people watching right now, if you decide to come in, you know, we're going to chop it up and get into some good stuff here regarding my number 5 favorite MC of all time. But before we get to that, I just want to start off by thanking everyone who has been supporting my channel on YouTube thus far. It's growing slowly but steadily. You know, anybody who's came by and left a comment, anybody who's subscribed to the channel, anybody who has clicked like on any of my videos, shared them, whatever the case may be. My thanks go out to you. I really appreciate it. And those who are tuning in now or who may plan to tune in now, I want to say thank you as well. It's been a good thing getting all this content out here. Sometimes I put up 2 or 3 times, sometimes I put up 2 and 3 videos a day, depending on what topic I'm going to cover. So, so with all that being said, I just want to say thank you for all of the support, all of the tuning in, all of that good stuff. So, with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into today's live stream, right into today's video. So, as you all can probably tell by the title, this is going to be another top 10 MC session. This one will be dedicated to my number 5 favorite MC of all time. That would be Ghostface Killah, one of the members of the legendary Wu-Tang Clan. And as most of you listening to this probably know, the first time I heard Mr. Ghostface Killah was on What Else? Bring the Ruckus. Ghostface, catch the best of a hype verse. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And also Bring the Ruckus from that Wu-Tang album. Not only is that my number 3 favorite album of all time, but that's my pick as the greatest opener ever on an album, specifically in hip hop. So that's when I first heard Ghostface. And of course, he has some other memorable performances on that first Wu-Tang Clan album. Y'all know the songs. Then, we get to Old Dirty Bastard, rest in peace to him, Return to the 36 Chambers, Brooklyn Zoo 2, The Tiger Crane, classic Ghostface verse there. Then, of course, we're going to Only Built for Cuban Links, my number 2 favorite album of all time. And he did, some of his best work on the album alongside Ray. And I think him and Raekwon is probably one of the best tag teams in hip hop history. I think you can't go wrong with that. And, that was probably one of the first albums to do a guest starring, idea. And they did it exceedingly well. And speaking of that album, I am going to come back and do a video on that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live stream for it, but I'm definitely going to do a video on that pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. Then, of course, we go into the Liquid Swords album. He made 2 appearances on GZA's album, Investigative Reports, along with Raekwon and U-God, and, of course, GZA. And then we get into the classic 4th Chamber alongside GZA, RZA, and Killah Priest. Y'all remember them classics. So that's pretty much my history with Ghostface. I own all of his albums, everything on CD with the exception of one, and we're going to get into that as well. But I mean, yeah, this man has been putting in work since 1993. He has long been my pick for the most consistent member of the Wu. Some people will probably argue he's not the best. We can always discuss that. Method Man will come into play, and he's going to be my next topic when it comes to my top 10 MC session, because he is in my top 10. So you got Redman, you got GZA, you got Raekwon. I mean, any one of them guys in the Wu could be at the top of the list as far as who's the best. But as far as the most consistent, that undoubtedly goes to Ghostface Killah. And if you think it's somebody else, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Is Ghostface the most consistent, or will you give that to Method Man? Will you give that to Raekwon? Hell, would you give that to GZA? Let me know. But other than that, yeah, that's where we at right now. So so basically, without further delay, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Let's see. All right, let me add this here. Okay, now I do want to talk about this right here. Now, I talked about this on previous videos that I did on some of my favorite artists. And before I continue, I just want to let you know that if you haven't checked out my Ultimate Nas post, my top 10 MC sessions on Jay-Z, my top 10 session on Rakim, and my top 10 session on Biggie, go ahead and check those out when you get a chance. Now, the Nas and Jay-Z ones, they are lengthy. They're about 3 hours and 30 minutes. So you definitely gonna need some time on your hands to check those out. So, like I said, once you get a chance, definitely go check those out. And like I mentioned in previous videos, I did do one on Coogee Rap, and I think that was one of the first ones I did. It's still up on my channel, but I am gonna redo that one at a certain point. So it's still up. So I just wanted to make that clear as we continue. Now, what you see on my screen right now is my ratings. When it comes to albums and when it comes to songs, this is what I go by. Now, the albums in particular, that is a direct influence from The Source magazine. Y'all remember The Source from back in the day. And I still got some of those classic issues, and I do have a classic issue that I'm going to get into right when we get into the Iron Man album. So everything you're seeing on the screen right now, those are my ratings right there. So you go from a 0 out of 5 or 0 stars, and that's self-explanatory, all the way up to the top. And the best of the best that you can be is have a song that's 5 out of 5, which essentially is perfect, or in my case right here, classic material. And that's the case when it comes to a 5-star album. Y'all know what it is. So right here, I'm gonna leave this up for a little bit, but this is my rating system in terms of songs and albums. Self-explanatory, bad, no redeeming qualities, mediocre, average, slightly above average, good/decent, solid/very good, excellent, superior, classic material. It's all right here. So I just wanted to show you all this as well. And also, my work is on my medium.com page, and that would be medium.com/@WDM625. So the majority of the albums that I'm talking about today, you can see my full-fledged song by song breakdown of all of my Ghostface albums. You can see that with the Nas albums, the Jay-Z albums, Rakim, Biggie, and just about everything. And one word on that page as well. I talked about this on a previous episode as well. I did have a blogger website, which also was called Wayne's Hip Hop Blog, but something happened with that. And I think the domain that I had, it wasn't, I'd never purchased it. I was basically written it for a year. So I let it expire, and then somebody else took control over it. But thankfully, I had all of my articles, all of my work was still present on the blogger website. So what I went ahead and did last year was I created a Medium page. I essentially picked and choose all of the articles that I was going to bring over. And all I did was some edits here and there, and I pretty much reposted them. I used the actual dates that I submitted them back in the day. So everything is up on that site now. And today I recently re-edited and put up a revisit of that Firm album from 1997. So, if you want to check that out, when you have some time on your hands, go ahead and do so. Everything is up. It's a lot of reading, of course. I get very detailed when it comes to hip hop. So, that's the thing there. So if you want to go check those out, be sure to do so. But like I said, when it comes to the Ultimate Nas project, the Jay-Z post, the Rakim post, and the Biggie post, as well as even the Cool G Rap post, go ahead and check those out when you get a chance. All right. So let's see. All right. So one more thing before we finally get into the Ghostface Killah session. So what I'm going to do with this session, as well as what I've done with other ones, is regarding Ghostface, I'm going to talk about the most essential work of his career, and that's basically everything from his Iron Man album, which made his debut in 1996, all the way up to the Apollo Kids album that was released in 2010. Now, I am going to speak on everything that he dropped after that, and even some of the compilation albums that he dropped in between. I'm going to talk about them, but I'm just going to focus on his most essential work, I think, and if you think he has some other essential work, you could definitely let me know in the comments. No questions about that. No issues with that. So what I do here is I basically talk about the highlights of the albums. Highlights, in my opinion, are going to be songs that are, between 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, and 5 out of 5. Now, there are going to be some instances in this project alone where I have a couple of highlights that rank in the 3.5 out of 5, but we're going to get to that, down the road. But that's how I do my particular rating. So the highlights, everything that comes in is a song that's 4 out of 5 or better, and I'm going to highlight that throughout this post. And then we get into the low lights. Now, we're not going to see that many low lights here, and basically low lights is self-explanatory. Songs that either should have been left on the cutting room floor, or songs that simply weren't that good, songs that were disappointing, all of that stuff. So we're going to get into all of that here on this Ghostface Killah session. And I'm not sure if he's watching, but if this gets to Ghostface Killah, shout out to you, man. But then again, I'm going to save my ultimate shout outs for at the end of this post. But I just wanted to make some things clear before we get into the actual video itself and start talking about his discography. So Well, all of that being said, with everything outlined and on the line, we're going to go ahead and get right into the Ghostface Killah Top 10 MC session. That's my boy right there. Ghostface Killah, aka Tony Starks, aka Dennis Coles, one of the 9 members of the legendary Wu-Tang Clan. Like I said, the most consistent member in the Wu. This brother has a soul side of him that pretty much you don't see in too many artists then and now. You know, the storytelling is immaculate. You know, he can get real emotional on his songs. You know, sometimes he'll make you laugh, other times he'll make you, I don't want to say make you cry, but you know, he can get emotional on his songs, but the guy is entertaining. He can bring it with energy that you don't really see in that many artists today. Hell, you don't really see it in Ghost all that much because I mean, he's getting older. He in his 50s now. You know, these cats, they OGs now. You know, they've been putting in work for decades. So, you know, and the fact that they're still doing it, that's a testament to them. You know, I have no issues with that. But like I said, this guy's been putting in supreme work, pun intended. So anytime he drops something, you know, I'm going to be checking it out. But like I said, you know, the flow is impressive. The storytelling skills is impressive. The emotional side of him is always on display. You know, he can be real descriptive. And like I said, he can be humorous at times, but when he's serious, he's on. And when he's back by equally dope production or, you know, soulful production, you know, you normally get his best work. And that's what we're going to highlight in this particular video here. So like I said, that's my boy right there, Ghostface Killah, my number 5 favorite MC of all time. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. All right, so here we have the debut album released on October 29th, 1996, Iron Man. Now, I remember really looking forward to this one when it came out because like I said earlier, this came at a time when the Wu-Tang was pretty much in their prime. You know, pretty much everything that they dropped was a classic or better. Like I said, you had the first Wu-Tang album from 93. That's a classic. Then you had Method Man's To Kyle album in 1994. I mean, that's a classic by my definition. Then ODB dropped, you know, 95 was a banner year. You know, that year we had ODB's debut, Return to the 36 Chambers, the dirty version. Then we had Raekwon guest starring Ghostface Killah, Only Built for Cuban Links. And we had Jizzle's Liquid Sword. So, you know, 1995 was a banner year for the Wu. I mean, you know, they were still in their prime. They were doing every single thing, you know. So, I mean, it's all good. They were getting the things done. They was getting it done. You know, RZA with the production. I mean, them brothers could do no wrong at this point. So then we had the 1996, the next up in terms of solo albums, that would be Ghostface Killah. And in this case, you know, Raekwon and Capadonna will have a heavy presence on the album. It was produced mostly by the RZA, except for one song, and we're going to get to that as well. Now, also, I am going to have a few stories about this particular album as well as some of his other albums. Now, this came out when I was in the 7th grade, you know, so of course I got some stories here. So now, I believe the week before or the week after, Mobb Deep released that Hell on Earth album. And as a matter of fact, let me actually check the release date of that. Let me check that out. Give me 1 second. I should know this off the top of my head. Let me see. 1 second, y'all. Okay, Mobb Deep's Hell on Earth album was released on November 19th, 1996. Okay, so we're talking about almost a month after Iron Man came out. Now, one of my friends from school, and if he's listening to this, he know who I'm talking about because I remember it. I want to say that he bought the Iron Man album around the time that it first came out, or maybe a few weeks after it came out. Now, the Mobb Deep album, I think I got that on cassette, probably one of the last cassettes that I bought. I got that either the week it came out or the week after it came out. Now, even though I'm going to talk about this in a future video, that Mobb Deep album, Hell on Earth, incredible. I still play the album a lot to this day, you know, and it does give the Infamous a run for its money in terms of what is Mobb Deep's best album, but I think that still goes with, I think the Infamous still wins that battle. But Yeah, so I had the Mobb Deep joint on cassette, and my friend at this point, he was still buying tapes too. And he had the Ghostface joint and he showed it to me. And I was like, man, I want this album. So then me being me at the time, I was trying to like organize a trade, give me the Iron Man joint and I'll give you the Hell on Earth joint. He was like, no, Wayne, you got to get your own, man. I still remember that. Now, I don't know why I was trying to do a trade. I guess that's because I wanted the Iron Man album so bad. But, eventually I would get it. And that's what brings me to the next part of the story. So the Iron Man album itself, my mom, if she's listening to this, shout out to her. She bought that for me for Christmas as a Christmas gift in 1996. And that same album, that same original pressing, I still have it to this day. The cover of the CD and all. And it doesn't skip or anything, because I managed to take care of it as well as my other CDs. And that was around the time when I began collecting CDs and I started to move away permanently from cassettes, because cassettes, let's face it, at that point in late 96 going into 97, even though they were still available, they were still becoming a thing of the past, So so shout out to my mom for that. I held on to that CD for the longest time. And in an interesting twist, I was able to get a brand new copy of this album, the original pressing on eBay for a decent price. I still got it in my room right now in the plastic. I don't know if I'm ever going to open it. I may open it, I may not. I just may keep it for completer's sakes. But, for all intents and purposes, I still own the original pressing with the Soul Controller. And speaking of Soul Controller, we're going to get into that. So with all that being said, we're going to head right into the album. Like I said, Iron Man, released on October 29th, 1996. All tracks produced by the RZA, except number one. So we're going to get right into the highlights, starting with the opening Iron Maiden, which featured Raekwon and Capadonna. And let me go back again and say this. Like I said, all of these thoughts, everything that you're seeing on the screen, this is stuff that I pulled from my actual work on my medium.com website. All of my thoughts here, so everything that you're seeing and everything that you're hearing, yes, it's going to be read verbatim sometimes, other times it's not. But these are my extensive thoughts on, this man's work. And I did the same thing with my Nas project, my Jay-Z post, my Rakim post, my Biggie post, my Coogee Rap post. So anytime I talk about hip-hop albums and things like that, you're going to get that same content this way in my sessions, whether they're live or otherwise. So I say here, beginning with this classic opener, we will see a continuous presence of Ray and Kappa throughout this album. I remember going crazy when I first heard this song, and I get those similar vibes when I listen to it today. And regarding Ghost, he uttered a line in this one that I'm still trying to figure out to this day. Yeah, he said, "My telephone watch leave bartenders topless." Now, I did add in, considering technology today, he wasn't too far off. In fact, he may have been ahead of his time here. Dope song nonetheless, 5 out of 5, and definitely a memorable way to start this album. So yeah, we got telephone watches now. Shout out to my people who got Apple watches. I guess that's considered a telephone watch. I mean, or something close to it. My lady, she has an Apple Watch. My son, he has an Apple Watch. So I don't have one, and quite frankly, I don't think I'm going to ever get one. But if you're rocking with the Apple products, shout out to you. All right, so excuse me. So the next highlight here, we got Wildflower, 4 out of 5 for this one. On this scathing track, we see another side of Ghost that I don't think we had ever seen at this point. Some of the lines were harsh and funny, but you can't help but be entertained. Most ladies wouldn't like this one. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. I would make some of the comments, or I should say I would deliver some of the verses, but no, I ain't gonna do that today. For those who know, y'all know what song I'm talking about in the lyrics. I'm laughing right now because they're quite funny. So again, that's a highlight right there, 4 out of 5. Then we head into the next highlight. We get the Raekwon solo, the Faster Blade. It sounded like it could have been on the Only Beautiful Cuban Links album, and just like Ghost had a solo spot on that album, Wisdom Body, Ray gets similar treatment here. 4 out of 5. I've always liked that song. No all bars, no hook. Broke niggas spot him like Cascade in the street masquerade, fast to play. You know, dope stuff. Love that song. All right. And speaking of Raekwon, he shows up on the next highlight, 260. I said we get some form of a story for this song, and please don't ask me to attempt to try to figure out the topic. It's just another dose of the awesome chemistry between Ray and Ghost over a dope RZA Al Green sample production. Yeah, kick down the door on the spot 260. Y'all don't want me to go in over here. So yeah, so like I said, classic right there. The next one we have Assassination Day, which featured the RZA, Raekwon, Inspector Deck, and Master Killer. Now, I did initially say that to this day, I still don't know why Ghost was nowhere to be found on this track. And I do have an article that I'm going to talk about here in terms of the 25th anniversary of the Iron Man album, as well as, you know, I always wonder why Inspector Deck wasn't credited for his appearance. But other than that, the song is dope as hell. And I think, I want to say either the RZA or Inspector Deck had the best verse on this song, you know, but either way, it's a 4 out of 5. Definitely some good stuff here. Next up, we got a 2-minute and 15-second song, Poisonous Darts, Ghostface delivering the usual. Now, this track, it did hit a few mixtapes back in the day, you know, before the album came out, and some mixtapes did title it as The Skies High. Now, I'm not sure if that was the initial title, but eventually when the album came out, they just settled into Poisonous Darts, and I think Poisonous Darts is a much better title than The Skies High. The Skies High is a little more generic, whereas Poisonous Darts, you immediately know you're listening to a Wu-Tang song. So we got that one. Then we got Winter Wars, classic, 5 out of 5, featuring Raekwon, Capadonna, U-God, and Master Killer. And I say right here, this no doubt was the best track on the Don't Be a Minute soundtrack, which I also own. Everyone did their thing on this one, but the true star show stealer here was Capadonna, as he delivered his best verse ever. Classic, yes. To this day, I still maintain that Kappa's verse on this song, that's the best thing he's ever done, followed by 97 Mentality, and then probably Run, and then Slang Editorial. And yeah, I'm going to talk about the Pillage album on this channel at a certain point too. But yeah, shout out to everyone there for that Winter Wars, probably one of the more memorable songs from that Don't Be a Minute soundtrack. So next highlight here, we got the Raekwon and Method Man assisted Box in Hand. The Future Wu Massacre team kills RZA's banger of a track, especially Meth, as he just lights things up with his final verse. 5 out of 5. You're fucking with the Star Spangled. To the dawn's early light with his head banger. Boogie, represent the shit fully. Like I'm constantly at war with the town bully. Who want the pressure? About to get smacked silly. Like a fat bitch in spandex, Free Willy. Be on some Millie. Check the joint. Y'all know what I'm talking about, you know. So, man, he kills that joint. And there also was a song that came out right around this time where it was supposed to have been a part 2. And Street Life, I think Street Life and Meth was on it. I think I'm gonna get to that a little bit in the a little bit towards the end when I talk about the other albums and compilations and stuff like that. But yeah, 5 out of 5 for Box in Hand. Then we go into another classic, Fish, featuring Raekwon and Capadonna, the only true master produced song on this album. We eat fish, toss salads, and make rap ballads. I know what I'm talking about. Ghost Ray and Kappa catch wreck over this True Master produced banger. Now, I was about to say that this was the first beat that True Master made. I don't think that was the case. I think one of his most, I think the first beat that he became known for was Brooklyn Zoo. Him and ODB did some great work on that track. All right. So then we go to the next highlight, Daytona 500, also featuring Raekwon and Capadonna. I said right here, this is another track I went crazy over when I first heard it. RZA's beat knocks as Ray, Ghost, and Kappa fire lyrical dots with aggressive ease. Yeah, definitely a great song, you know, a memorable song too. So shout out to all involved for that one. All right, then we get to the next highlight, Motherless Child, featuring Raekwon, one of the classic highlights on the Sunset Park soundtrack, which I also own, complete with more of Ghost storytelling prowess. 5 out of 5. Great song. I love that. Usually Usually when I play that one, I have a tendency to play it, back to back. But yeah, it's a great song. Then speaking of great songs, that brings me to the next one, which is Black Jesus featuring Raekwon and You God. Another RZA produced banger. This time, excuse me. This time, You God kills this one. Excuse that typo there. In what was one of his top 5 verses ever. Yeah, I still believe that. I also read in a review on this album that this song was missing the obvious. Check out the rap Kingpin, the Black Jesus sample from Only Bill for Cuban Links' Ice Water, and it doesn't hurt the song at all. But then again, I came back and I was like, yeah, it does hurt it a little bit because that song, it would have been perfect to complement the Cornbread Earl and Me samples. So I did take some points away from that. Instead of giving it a 5 out of 5, I give it a 4.5 out of 5 because of that sample. That sample could have been mixed in with that, and the Cornbread Earl and Me samples, y'all know what I'm talking about. If you ever seen that classic, probably one of the more underrated Black cinema classics that you're ever going to find. Is probably the most relevant of those films, and I still have a deep connection with those films as well from a nostalgic point of view, and I stay in nostalgic mode. Y'all know me. But yeah, the samples that were used here by RZA, which he did an excellent job with them samples too. He timed it like right at the point when Cornbread was shot by the police and the music had started, and then you hear the store owner, what was his name? Fred, I think that was his name. Let me see. I think that was his name, Fred. Y'all can correct me on that. But the store owner, Mr. Fred Store, I think that was his name. Yeah, he was like, "Oh my God, yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about." But yeah. So again, it's a dope song, but that sample would have been well received had he put it in there. But again, it's a dope song. Next up, we get this highlight, the Mary J. Blige assisted All That I Got Is You. The word on this song is that either Mary J. didn't give permission for her vocals to be used or they weren't cleared. Now, I may have to do some additional research for that because I don't think they pulled that from other, from future releases of the album. I know the next song that I'm going to talk about, they pulled that song from it, but I think they kept All That I Got Is You on there. And I also continue with all due respect, this song is still amazing, with or without Mary's vocals, and it's probably the most heartfelt song of Ghost's career. His story of dwelling through the past flashbacks when he was young. Whoever thought I have a baby girl and 3 sons? I know it. Must be heard to be appreciated. 5 out of 5. I wouldn't say it's his best song, but it's definitely the most heartfelt song of his career. Definitely personal. And, you can tell it's real. It's coming from where it came from a real sincere place. So I always liked it. And he was also on record saying that this song, not only did it make people cry, but it made big dudes with muscles cry. I wouldn't be surprised because you feel the emotion, and the beat and Mary J's hook. I mean, it's great. Great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, that brings us to the Soul Controller. And as I note here, this was cut from future presses of the album due to an unclear sample, which will plague future albums from Ghost. And I'm going to talk about that. But I'm thankful to still have the original pressing because it's one of my favorite tracks on the album. I especially love the way RZA switches the beat during Ghost's third verse, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I love that song. So I end my thoughts on this album by pretty much saying I know that there are quite a lot of 4 out of 5 ratings here, but due to the consistently strong ratings for the songs, the nostalgic vibe, which is strong, and my longtime support for the Wu, this album gets a 5-star rating from me. But then I went back and changed it after constant soul searching, quote unquote. I'm going to go with a solid 4.5-star rating here after all these years. Yes, it wasn't the album that Only Bill for Cuban Links was, and it didn't try to be either. This was the first of a stellar discography from Ghost. I think I meant to say this was the first album, but it's okay. This was the first product of a stellar discography from Ghost, and it will only be up from here. Yeah, so definitely 4.5 stars. And I mean, that can always change, over time, but for right now, I am going to keep it at a 4.5-star rating. All right, so before we get to album number 2, let me go into some additional things here. Now, I have a copy of the Source magazine in front of me from December 1996. Now, this issue, most people outside of New York got the issue, or should I say, got the one with Snoop on the cover. But this one that I have, of course, I had to go back in time and get it off of eBay. This was the special New York limited edition. They had Mobb Deep on the front. Rest in peace to Prodigy. So what I'm going to take a look at here is the Iron Man review from this particular issue. This was done by Warren Coolidge, and they gave it 4 stars. So I'm not gonna read the whole thing verbatim. I'm just gonna read a couple of points here. All right, so let's see. Starts off by saying, pull out the bullhorn. Let's celebrate like Kunta was born. We elbowed our way inside loud and got on. And that was from the Black Jesus song. So the article starts out with that quote. So then we go on to say that Ghostface Killah reminisces on Iron Man, the latest installment of the Wu saga. It's been 3 years since the group's debut opus, Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, and the rap world still shows no signs of growing tired of the Shaolin crew. Batting fifth in the Wu solo lineup, Ghostface Killah attempts to keep the clan's hitting streak going. I think I might read this whole thing. Iron Man is like all the previous Wu-Tang solo albums in one sense. It's a family affair, as evidenced on the exhilarating Daytona 500, which features original SI representatives, Force MDs. Ghostface is at his best when he's on with his right-hand man, Raekwon the Chef, and the constantly improving Capadonna. But don't think that Stars can't hold his own weight. On the scathing Wildflower, he verbally harasses an unfaithful lady friend, and on the sucker MC chopping poisonous darts, Ghost decapitates all competition. Okay, well said. And I think I mentioned they gave it 4 mics. Okay. While 260, an Al Green sample-driven criminology tale, provides reminders of last year's Raekwon-led adventure, Iron Man is not Cuban Links 2. I repeat, Iron Man is not Cuban Links 2. And like I said at the end of this, it's not trying to be. And if it was trying to be that, it wasn't going to work, because that light in the Wu bottle that was captured with that Cuban Links album, you can't capture that again. Now, getting off topic for a bit, Raekwon's sequel to that album, it was great. You know, he did kind of capture the essence of Cuban Links, but in a 2009 standpoint. But other than that, you know, that sort of thing, you can't recapture that, you know, no matter how hard you try. All right, so continuing on, Italian gangster-inspired stories have been replaced by introspective lyrics, hummed melodies, and intense emotional moments. And save the old-school hip-hop-inspired box in hand, choruses have all but been eliminated, as outside collaborators provide the record with an almost old-school R&B edge. The original authors of Ready or Not, 70s crooners, the Delphonics, appear on the engaging After the Smoke is Clear. Now, I like that song, but I don't think it's one of the album's highlights, you know. Now, when I bumped the album, do I still listen to that song? Yes, but as far as like highlights, I didn't include that one. And of course, Method Man's Grammy partner, Mary J. Blige, adds a touch of elegance on All That I Got Is You. It's on this autobiographical ode that Ghost removes his ironclad mask and provides us with insight into his troubled childhood and even questions his own existence. Sometimes I look up at the stars and analyze the sky and ask myself, was I meant to be here? Why? Yeah, that's true. So Warren's article ends by saying, serving as the project's exclusive producer, the RZA does another masterful job topping himself in terms of sonic diversity, everything from video game sound effects, Assassination Day, to Middle Eastern flutes. Okay, Middle Eastern flutes. Black Jesus are thrown in. Okay, all right, that was different. With Iron Man, the clan's former Mask Avenger, Ghostface Killah has created a soulful chamber that deserves its rightful place as another cornerstone in the enduring Wu-Tang Clan legacy. That was a good review. That was a good review. So shout out to Warren Coolidge for that one. Now, I have one more thing I want to present, and I'm going to get my screen share for this one. All right. Now, this is an article courtesy of Billboard.com. 25 years later, Ghostface Killah reflects on the pain and trauma that made him a true Iron Man. In an exclusive interview with Billboard, Ghostface Killah reflects on the 25th anniversary of Iron Man and the pain that came with creating his seminal album. So, credit to Mark Elibert for this. Now, I wanted to include this because it's some things that Ghostface said in this article that really brings certain things into perspective. Because I've been asking for a while, you know, when it came to certain songs like Assassination Day, why he wasn't on them. So we're going to go ahead and get into this now. All right. I think I am going to read this one verbatim. Okay. Today, October 29th, but this was in 2021, Ghostface Killah is celebrating the 25th anniversary of Iron Man. Although he's grateful and blessed to reach such a milestone, he's not treating it the same way others are. Fans and critics regard the 1996 album as one of the best in the Wu-Tang Clan's extensive discography, but that wasn't the same feeling for Ghost when he created the project alongside Raekwon, RZA, and Capadonna. There's a personal story that he shared for the first time with Billboard that explains how the Iron Man era wasn't what people thought it to be for the legendary rapper. Now, this is interesting, y'all. Following his show-stealing performances on Can It Be All So Simple and the mystery of chess boxing from Wu-Tang Clan's 1993 seminal Into the Wu-Tang Clan 36 Chambers, Ghost elevated his stock further 2 years later on Raekwon's debut effort, Only Built for Cuban Links. Life should have been great for Ghost, but it was only getting harder for the Staten Island legend. After helping Raekwon put together Only Built for Cuban Links, Ghostface was diagnosed with diabetes and lost a lot of weight because of it. Things got worse at the start of Iron Man's creation when Ghost's best friend was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The rapper, also known as Tony Stark, was going through a storm that very few people knew about at the time. Now, no, I didn't know about it, you know, and I don't think it was ever talked about anywhere, really, the Source magazine or anywhere, you know, so that was very interesting. So when I first read this article, I was like, wow, okay. So when N-words appreciate my shit, I'm not going to shoot it down. Like, I appreciate it, but a N-word was in a depressed state at that time, and that lasted for a minute up until I got to Supreme Clientele, which is interesting because we talking about a depressed state that went from 1996 all the way up to 2000. So we talking about what 3 years, pretty much. 97, no, almost 4 years. 97, 98, 99, going into 2000. So really, we can say 3 years, because I would assume that he recorded Supreme Clientele in 1999, you know. And trust me, we're going to get to that one next because I got a couple of stories with that one. But yeah, had no idea. And even then, we're talking about at a time when he had made appearances on the Wu-Tang Forever album, which is my number 11 favorite album of all time. He was on Capadonna's album. So he was still out there doing his thing, but I never would have guessed at that time that, you know, he was going through some personal issues. But I mean, it happens sometimes. So continuing on with the article, he says, Ghostface tells Billboard inside Dream Hotel in New York City, see, it lasted through Wu-Tang Forever and whatever else I did in between there. People never really understood what was going on at that time, and I really didn't tell anybody. Now, when you listen to, let's take Wu-Tang Forever, for example. When you listen to that album, you wouldn't be able to tell that Ghostface was going through anything. And I mean, to be fair, you know, when you in the studio, when you getting it in, you know, you got to put that behind you because, I mean, you still got a job to do. In this case, you're making an album. So you don't want your fans pretty much telling you that you half-assed it, you know, because they're devoting their time, they're devoting their money to your product. So you don't ever want the fans to look at that and be like, you know, damn, you know, he could have did better. Now, sometimes that happens, but you don't want it to be blatantly obvious. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would have never guessed. All right, so let's continue on. It's surprising to hear the Wu-Tang member describe his fractured mindset while creating one of mid-90s hip-hop's most impactful albums. Ghostface did a fantastic job covering it up on Iron Man by showing off his elite lyricism and riveting storytelling abilities on tracks like 260, Poisonous Darts, and Fish. His efforts paid off on the charts as well, as Iron Man debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top R&B Hip Hop Albums chart and #2 on the Billboard 200 Albums chart, selling over 156,000 copies in his first week. The album also was certified platinum by the RIAA and remains Ghostface Killah's best-selling release. Still, the accolades weren't enough to clear the trauma endured by the self-proclaimed Iron Man. All right? Excuse these ass. Sheesh. Iron Man was dark to me. The cover is okay. Okay, give me a second, y'all. Sheesh. Thank you, Kroger. Okay. All right, continuing on, y'all. Iron Man was dark to me. The cover is colorful, but as far as the music, there was something going on there. It was wrong, says Ghostface. That's why I didn't get on a few of the records, like Assassination Day with RZA, Inspector Deck, Raekwon, and Master Killer or Faster Blade. I couldn't write to those records. Ray did what he did on Faster Blade. I couldn't come behind that, not feeling how I was feeling, so I left it there like that. Now, when I think about Assassination Day, I think he probably could have dropped a verse on there. I don't think he would have messed the song up. I mean, after all, it's on his album. So I think I get where he came from. That Faster Blade, yes, that was a Raekwon solo joint. So, you know, again, Ghost had a solo joint on Cuban Links. So why not let Raekwon have a solo joint on his album? So, you know, so yeah. So I'm with him on not being on Faster Blade. That was a Raekwon record, you know, simply put. Despite having his Wu-Tang brothers carry him on the 2 tracks while he was down, Ghostface took his pain and turned it into magic on various parts of the album. All That I Got Is You was one of those standout moments on Iron Man where he reflected on his past and praised his mother for her tireless work ethic. It's a record that will always have a special place in his heart. Rightly so. But that's as far as his praise goes for the album. Ghostface doesn't hate Iron Man. He just knows it could have been a better album, despite the hip-hop culture labeling it a classic, as the unsettling vibe from all the negatives in his personal life kept him from fully locking in. Iron Man wasn't an outlet for me to escape those problems I was having, Ghost says. I had to do what I had to do in the midst of being under all that pressure. If it was an outlet for me, I would have done more on it than what I planned to do. And I understand that. But man, still reading this article again, I would have never guessed that he was going through something. He adds, I would have had way more lyrics on there and a lot more. A lot of those rhymes would have came out differently, you know what I mean? Probably more detail and said more shit. I get that. For Wu-Tang purists, Iron Man is part of an exclusive club rivaling the similarly classic likes of Raekwon's, Cuban Links, Jizzle's Liquid Swords, and Method Man's Tikal. Those debut albums are considered by many to be the most essential projects in Wu-Tang's history. If you ask Ghost to rank his album alongside those solo debuts, it's most likely coming in last. Now, the author forgot to mention ODB's solo album. You know, if we're talking about solo albums, he forgot to mention that there because that's up high too. But I get the point that he's trying to make. Ghost says, I can't even rank Iron Man with those 3, says Ghostface. Cuban is Cuban. Iron Man ain't fucking with Cuban. He's right about that. Iron Man ain't even fucking with Liquid Swords. I do agree with that. And Liquid Swords, as well as Cuban Links and 36 Chambers, those are in my top 10 favorite albums of all time. So yeah, he's right about that. You might be able to say that beat-wise, but lyrics, nah. Now, beat-wise, Iron Man is not touching any of those albums either. You know, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to talk about this when I get to the Cuban Links album in another video. The Cuban Links album, as far as I'm concerned, that's the best produced album ever, you know. And I know there can be some arguments about that, but I consider that the best produced album of all time. And hell, Liquid Swords might be behind it, you know, but beat wise, no, Iron Man is not even seeing Cuban Links and Liquid Swords. It may be better than Tikal on a beat level. It may be better than Return to the 36 Chambers on a beat level, but the other 2, no. All right, then we continue on. Then you got Tikal right there. I might rank Iron Man last, but I leave that to the people. I can't say my shit is better than my brother's shit anyway. When it came to his then peers, well, they still is peers, but okay, such as Nas, Jay-Z, and Snoop Dogg, who each released albums in 1996, Ghostface felt upset he couldn't go toe-to-toe with them given his depression at the time. Now, 96 was Nas's year. Okay. Jay-Z was just getting started. He dropped Reasonable Doubt that year, but it was on a much lesser scale. Jay-Z didn't really blow up until Hard Knock Life. And if you check out my top 10 MC session on Jay-Z, I talk about that. And Snoop Dogg was in the midst of his own drama with the stuff that was going on at Death Row in 96. So the Dogfather didn't really make a lot of noise when it came out either. So Ghost was in good standing. So we'll continue this on. He said, Iron Man would have been more colorful and juicy without my depression, like where I left off with Raekwon shit. And that's why when it dropped, I wasn't too happy for it. Ghost reveals to Billboard. It was cool, and it was my first one, but I had Nas right there coming out at the same time. And for the record, Nas, it was written, came out July 2nd, 1996. And it's like, damn, I wanted to come out and compete with these ends, but these ends are my peers, but I couldn't get up in there like that. I get what he's saying. All right. Despite his lukewarm feelings about the entire album, Ghostface appreciates his fans for their endless praise and adoration. He would have never known what it feels like to be a solo artist and leave a legacy if it wasn't for Iron Man. And 25 years is a long time, not something that Ghostface Killah can easily look past. You have to go through hell to come out right. And I never knew God would have me in this position right here where people can understand and love you for what you created, Ghostface says as he looks out the window next to our table. I didn't know this. I didn't think Iron Man would have this impact because I wasn't too wrapped up in it. I'm grateful. I'm truly blessed to hear. Okay, there was a typo on that end. I'm truly blessed to hear 25 years later from my first joint when I was like 26 years old. A lot of people don't get to make it like that and still keep going. Yeah, so some good points there, and some interesting things that he said about this album. But like I said in my article, I still give it 5.4.5 stars. It's a great album. It's a classic. Now, nostalgia wise, it's 5 stars, but overall as an album, it gets 4.5 stars from me. So that was Iron Man, y'all. A great album, a great debut, even with Ghostface with his issues at the time. He still did his thing. All right, things are freezing here, so just give me 1 second before I get back to the regular topic in progress. All right, come on now. Come on. Computers bless their heart. Why am I okay? All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so there we go. Okay. So let me get this back to the screen here. Okay. What in the world is going on here? Shout out to Google Chrome for doing this thing, y'all. We're gonna get this going any day now. All right. This is interesting. Okay. All right. So finally, after all that, we can resume the post. So next up, we skip 97, we skip 98, we skip 99, and we go right to 2000 with the awesome Supreme Clientele. Now, I got a couple of stories about this, but this is only going to be, short stories. So with this album, the initial release date was set to be January 25th. Now, to this day, I don't know why it was changed and pushed up to February 8th, but either way, I was still looking forward to it, and I bought it the first day it came out from Circuit City. I couldn't wait for this joint, bought it when it first came out. And for some strange reason, now this was when I was in the 10th grade, for some strange reason, I kept this in the plastic for a couple of days. I guess I was too nervous to open it or whatever the case may be. Even one of my friends at the time, tried to get me to take the plastic off it so he can listen to it. Almost as if he was saying, if you ain't gonna listen to it now, I'll go ahead and do it. but interesting times right there. But like I said, that's what happened. To this day, I still don't know why the release date changed or whatever, but it didn't matter because whether it was January 25th, 2000, or whether it was February 8th, 2000, I was going to get it the first day it came out anyway. And to this day, almost 25 years after its release, I still have the original pressing. And I do want to preface this by saying that album, it has some songs that was missing, and the sequence was out of order. Now, this will plague the next album as well, and I'm going to talk about that when we get to album number 3. But yeah, I noticed it was some songs that was on the insert, and I believe on the back of the cover as well, that wasn't on the album, which is crazy. I don't know who made a mistake like that, but it's all good. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into this particular album. Like I said, this was on heavy rotation for me at the time. And those who was in school with me at the time, they would know I was real heavy on this album at the time. I mean, I was playing this more than anything at the time. I mean, heavy rotation is an understatement. And I played it so much. I had the lyrics, for most of the songs. Y'all remember OLA.com? I think it was OHHLA.com, where you can get all of those lyrics from. I think it's called Original Hip Hop Lyrics Archive. That's where you could get some of those lyrics from and print them out. So I was able to do that with some of the songs, and I played them songs so much, and I had the lyrics in my hand so much that to this day, I know that the first half of this album, I know those songs by heart. Everything from Nutmeg all the way up to Stay True. I know those songs by heart. Now, I'm not gonna sing them on this live stream, for timely purposes, but just take my word for it. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that. Give me 1 second, y'all. And I gotta bring up another article too, but okay. Let me see. All right. So we start with the highlights. Nutmeg featuring the RZA, produced by Black Moses Art. Admittedly, most of his lines in this song and others, as we shall see, leave you wondering just what the hell he's talking about. But the key factor in all of it is he delivers the lines with such flair, charisma, and gusto that you instantly forego questioning the meaning behind said lines. Ghost's 2 verses are great, along with RZA's, tight closing. 5 out of 5. Yeah, definitely a great opener for this one. I mean, he dropped some weird lines throughout this one, but the way he was flowing to the beat, like I said, you can forego that. Now years later, if you delve deeply into those lines, you still probably gonna be wondering what the hell he was talking about. But again, it's great stuff. It's great stuff there. The next highlight we have here is one with a hook by TMF, and this was produced by Juju and the Beat Nuts. This one is a banger right here. The number 1 isn't hinted at until the end, but overall that doesn't matter because the song itself is so good. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I also gave the next song 4.5 out of 5. Saturday Night, produced by Carlos Brody. Carlos Brody was underrated. I believe he was a part of Puff Daddy's Hitman team, the production team, I think. But he made some great beats in his day. This short song sees Ghost flexing his storytelling muscles again. It all goes down to the 6th day of the week. Tight as hell. Yo, Saturday night, uptown, riding past Kansas Fried Chicken. I mean, great stuff, man. He could have did another verse on that, but what we got, it was fine. The next highlight here, we got the Blacksmith produced Ghost Dini featuring Superb. Superb's closing verse was decent, but man, Ghost 2 verse are just so amped over this bass-driven beat. Yep. Summertime, holding the 9, split the Vegas in half, beats rumble on those pub grass. I mean, killing it, man. 5 out of 5 for this classic. Another good one. Then the next highlight we got, of course, Apollo Kids. He did a video for this one, featuring Raekwon, produced by Son. Hey yo, what's the hook? What's the hook? I know it off the top of my head. I want to say it. facing me real TV, crush a high speed strawberry kiwi. As we approach the herb, the gods bail. These Staten Island ferry boat can't sail. Fresh Sally 50 thief up in your city. We banned for life. Apollo kids live to spit the real. I mean, love this song. Just like I've done seemingly every time I heard a new Ghostface song, I remember going crazy when I first heard this. Ghost sound is so inspired on this track that any continuous words can't do it justice. It's so tight all around. 5 out of 5, definitely. Next up, we have The Brain, which is featuring and produced by the RZA. Seemed like a song that was tailor-made for an old dirty bastard appearance, but sadly he was not on this one. Although it comes off as a song that could be played for laughs, Ghost and RZA still bring it with their verses. Don't go against the grain, indeed. 4 out of 5. And the next one we got a highlight here, which may be the album's best song. We got Buck 50 featuring Meth, Redman, and Capadonna, produced by RZA. Kappa's verse was decent, as I say here, but overall, this is another tight song in a series of them on this album, and Ghost, Red, and Meth lyrically own it. RZA also came through with an ill reworking of Baby Huey's Hard Time, and I give this one 4.5 out of 5. You know, definitely a great song. You know, I know this one by heart. All right, and then we got Mighty Healthy, produced by Mathematics. Now, I say here, if there ever was a song where the actual sound should make it unbearable, but instead it comes off as the complete opposite, is this Mathematics produced banger. It sounds like something that was taken off of a dub TDK blank tape and transferred, but still, Ghost's energetic performance here cannot be denied. And I gave it 4.5 out of 5 mainly because of that. You know, it's a dope song, but if it was refined, I would probably give it 5 out of 5. But then again, the fact that it's not refined, it adds to how dope the song is. You know, no problem with that. Then the next one here, we got Stay True, hooked by 60-Second Assassin, produced by Inspector Deck. And just what I was talking about earlier, it says the originally titled Deck's beat. This is another brief but dope song. The beat itself was also used by Inspector Deck on his Uncontrolled Substance album on the song Elevation. 4 out of 5. Now that Inspector Deck album, on a side note, that's an underrated album. You know, I may need to revisit that again. I may do a video on it, but that's an underrated album. But again, you know, this song was short and sweet and to the point, or as Jizza said, brief, half short, and twice strong. You know, so definitely a highlight here. The next highlight is Malcolm, produced by Chew the Specialist. Although this very good song begins with a Malcolm X audio clip, the focus isn't on him. It completely goes in a different direction, but it's still effective. Yeah, that's true. 4.5 out of 5 for this one. Then we got Sir She's Lagos featuring You God and Madam Majestic, produced by Carlos Best. This is a Wu-Tang Party classic right here, and it received a decent amount of airplay back in 2000. 4 out of 5. You know, pretty good song. You know, brothers try to match me, but no one can match me. No girl can freak me. I'm just too nasty. You know, y'all know what I'm talking about. All right. So then we move to the next highlight, Wu Banger 101. This one featured This one featured Raekwon, Jizza, Capadonna, and Master Killah, produced by Mathematics. Mathematics was kind of underrated too. If there was a class being taught in college on the Wu, this song would be played, and I'm pretty sure you can play. There are many other songs that you can play from the Wu-Tang, and this is one of them. So 4 out of 5 for this one. No real lowlights to speak of on this album. You know, it could have done without some of the skits, but the skits didn't take away from it, and it won't be the last time that we talk about skits on the Ghostface album as we continue on. So just like Iron Man, it was no lowlights to speak of on that album as well. So what I said here is that Ghostface was on a creative role at this point in his career, and it showed with this awesome album, the best album of 2000. At one point, I went back and forth about whether I liked this album more than his debut, but after thinking about it for so long, I do prefer his debut more over this album, but not that much. And based on what I said about the Iron Man album, that has changed again. You know, now they could go either way. One day I may say Iron Man is my favorite. The next day I may say different, you know, but when you have discussions like that amongst yourself and amongst other people, you know, that just shows that you're working with some quality material. And that's the case with Ghostface here. So I finished it by saying Ghost continued to show what he was capable of, and Supreme Clientele is a great example of that. Sadly, this album has been out of print for the longest time. I don't think that's the case. I think there are some copies in circulation. It may be some on Amazon, but I know you can get it on eBay as well. But thankfully, I still have my original pressing. You know, you can never go wrong with the original pressing. So for those who still own the original version like I do, cherish it forever. I did give it 4.5 stars, and much like Iron Man, 5 stars for the nostalgic factor. Damn straight. Yeah, classic material. I'm not sure if the Source ever rated it in their magazine. I'm not sure if they did. And trust me, I looked it up and I didn't find anything. All right. So we moved to 2001 with the next album number 3, Bulletproof Wallets, which is one of the more unique album titles that you're ever going to find. Now, I got a small story about this one. I bought this one the week that it came out. I got it on November 16th, 2001. I was a couple of months into my senior year in high school at this point. And not only did I buy this from Circuit City, I also got my first DVD player, you know, back when DVD players were a big thing at that time. And I also got the first editions of Heat, you know, which is my number 4 favorite movie of all time. And I got one of the first editions of Goodfellas, my number 5 favorite movie of all time. So definitely, you know, definitely got those in there. So yeah, the memories are there. And also this is another album where there was an incorrect track listing because some of the songs that were in the booklet, they weren't on the album. I think there was a song called The Sun with Slick Rick. I think it was Slick Rick, Method Man, and the RZA. And it would be a few years later when we would actually get to hear that song. But it was inside the insert and it wasn't on the album. So again, you had an incorrect track listing and sequencing, you know, songs missing and stuff like that. And that would be the last time that this would play Ghostface albums, because after this, he would leave Epic Records. I mean, you know, basically get out of there and avoid him like the plague. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'll be right back. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. All right. All right. So we'll continue on here. We get to the highlights. The first one is Maxine featuring Raekwon, produced by the RZA. I said that the album starts off with a bang. Maxine is the obvious subject of this ongoing story over a lively RZA track. 4 out of 5 for that. And then we get two more additional 4 out of 5 tracks, starting with the Raekwon, Method Man, and Superbasistic Flowers, also produced by the RZA. I call it a very good collaboration with all 4 MCs flowing nicely over another lively RZA track. And Theodore featuring Trife and Twiz, produced by Mathematics. This one I call the official or unofficial, depending on how you look at it, dawning of Theodore Unit, which Ghost would later name his crew along with Trife and Twiz as additional members. The song here is pretty dope too, so 4 out of 5 for that one. Then we got the next highlight, 5 out of 5 for Ghost Showers, featuring Madam Majestic, produced by Chris Liggio and Tally Galbraith. This song was made for the radio, but instead, at this point in 2001, the only time I heard this on the radio was during one of the mix shows on one of the respective stations in my area. Miss Majestic sounded different and better here than she did on Sir She's La Ghost, but it worked. And Ghost Showers is a much better song than Sir She's La Ghost, I think, but it didn't make as much noise, Sir She's La Ghost made more noise than Ghost Showers did, So then we get to the next highlights, The Forest, featuring Raekwon, produced by The Alchemist, another underrated producer. Ghost storytelling is at the forefront again as he uses selected cartoon characters in a lyrically creative way. So I give this one 5 out of 5. Next up, we got The The Jukes featuring Superb and Trife, produced by the Alchemist. Very dope here. Trife completely steals the show, and yes, he did it on the song What Goes, 4 out of 5. Pop your collar, do whatever you do best. Get your dollar. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I like that song. Next up, we get some additional highlights. The Hilton featuring Raekwon, produced by Carlos Brody again. I'm telling you that I need to look him up to see what he's up to now, because that guy, he's underrated. He don't get a lot of credit, but he made some dope beats. And this one is another track where the chemistry between Ray and Ghost is displayed, and is done so over this Carlos Brody produced banger, 4 out of 5. And then the last one, which is Street Chemistry, produced by the Alchemist, Prodigal Son, and Trife. Man, good God. If there ever was a song that was too short but should have been longer, is this one. This is one of my favorite Alchemist beats, and all three MCs kill it completely. And just as you're getting into it, the song abruptly ends. 4.5 out of 5. You know, even if the ending was a bit anticlimactic, it still was a dope song. You know, Ghost, I love his verse. You know, big warehouse and shit. Crystal Balls, Agent 88 with the gold rapper. Co-rackers go good with the dope classics. Snatch the fantastic chips and we fuck crackers. Bark on bitches. Spark our sisters. Dart for dart. Diamond heart. Slamming Eldorado with the Benz parts. Yo, Paul, mock my words. The brand new album in stores now. Murdering them. Murdering the high learner. As of now, I turn myself in, retire. Give my babies my entire earnings. I mean, he went in on that joint. You know, and that beat, man, I love it. Shout out to the Alchemist. All right, so for the first time, we get to low points on a Ghostface Killah album. And what are those low points? Well, it's 3 of them on this album. We have Love Session. I said that we get the second song aimed at the female audience, as this was a continuation of Never Be the Same Again. And I believe a group called Rough Ends was on this song, you know, and I think they had a song like this with a similar beat, but Ghostface wasn't on it, you know. Y'all could correct me in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, you know, Never Be the Same Again was the better song, obviously, but you know, that's not saying much. Next low point, Walking Through the Darkness. Not sure what the purpose of that song was. It could have been left on the cutting room floor. And then we get Strawberry. Killer Army's Killer Sin appeared on this song, which comes off as more of an interlude. Not sure what the purpose of that was. So, you know, definitely a Ghostface Killah and Killer Sin song at this point. That would have been some awesome stuff, but we got Strawberry. So I closed this one by saying, overall, while receiving considerably less buzz than Supreme Clientele, this was an excellent album from Ghost. And speaking of that buzz, that essentially what led to Ghost's departure from Epic Records to Def Jam, as there were no promotion for this album in addition to the lack of buzz. Now when I think about it, he should have been on Def Jam all along, but okay. Also, The Sun, which featured Slick Rick and Raekwon, The Watch, and Good Times, didn't make the album due to sample clearance issues, and had those songs been in place of Never Be the Same Again, Love Session, Strawberry, and Walking Through the Darkness, the rating would be different. As it stands, it still receives a solid 4-star rating from me, and is Ghost's most underrated effort. Now, I followed that up by saying the source gave this one 4.5 mics. They certainly did. There is an article of it online, but the quality is not the best, and I think it continues on to a second page, but the second page ain't online. So so that's that part. And I also said Ghost's most underrated effort, not quite. My pick for that will be in another upcoming post, and yeah, we're gonna get to that one. Okay, so if you're keeping tally, that makes, you know, Iron Man at 4.5 stars, Supreme Clientele at 4.5 stars, and Bulletproof Wallace at 4 stars. All right. So we move to the next album number 4, Pretty Tony album, his first on Def Jam. And this album, I bought this on his release day. I bought it from Circuit City. And yes, I still have that original pressing. I sure do. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this one. The highlights, Biscuits featuring Trife the God. Meet these OGs. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Produced by True Master. I said here, talk about an energetic start to an album. Ghost and Trife deliver the goods. over this tight track by True Master. And I say it right there. Meet these OGs. Yeah, 4 out of 5 for this one. And the 4 out of 5 ones continue. We got Beat the Clock, produced by Minnesota. After the 1 minute Kunta Fly shit, which was a dope song in itself, but the song was 1 minute. So I didn't want to include that as a highlight here. But this was another banger. You can't do anything but nod your head to that one. So 4 out of 5. Then we got the next one, Metal Lunges, featuring Chic, Luch, and Styles P. 2/3 of the locks, and we're going to see more of them on this project as well, even on this album, produced by No ID, another underrated name. In what was likely the first Wu D Block collaboration, the chemistry between the two groups was awesome, and that certainly was the case here. Ghost starts it off hype as hell, then Sheik and Styles straight up kill their verses. This wouldn't be the last appearance of D Block Locks on this album. Another fact, this same beat, although changed up a little, was used on 50 Cent's The Massacre on a song titled I Don't Need Him, but 50 doesn't nearly do that beat justice like he could have. And this one is a 5 out of 5, probably the second best song on the album, I think. So then the highlights continue. We got a self-produced song here, Save Me Dear, over a nice Freddie Scott sample, courtesy of You Got What I Need. This is another very good song, 4 out of 5 for that one. Then the highlights continue. We got It's Over, produced by K-Def. I say here that I like the way David Porter's I'm Afraid the Masquerade Is Over was used on this one. Ghost sounds completely at home over very soulful production, which I feel is the point of most of these songs. And the way he starts this off by saying, quote unquote, this song is about when you're going through mad things and you just can't seem to get out of it, is something we can all relate to. So 4 out of 5 for this one. Then we got Holler, also produced by Ghost. He took the classic La La Means I Love You by the Delphonics, sprinkled a dose of Wu-Tang Supreme on it, and created a tight piece of work, even down to the hook. 4.5 out of 5 for this one. Then we get to another highlight, Run, featuring Jadakiss, produced by the RZA. D-Block / Locks member Rep. Jadakiss shows up to bless this awesome track with Ghost, and the Wu-Tang D-Block chemistry continues even as the album is on its way to closing. 5 out of 5. And I think that, let me know what you think. The best song on here, do you think it's Run or Metal Lunges or another song? Let me know. Then we got the Music Soul Child feature Love. I wonder where he is now. Produced by No ID. Ghost professes his love for several things on this great album closer. Said, love my last album, even though the shit went wood. Yeah, I understand, So 4.5 out of 5. And like I said, Bulletproof Wallets wasn't a bad album. It just was plagued by, sample clearance issues and, incorrect track listing and sequencing and stuff like that, Outside that, it would have been 4.5, or it may have been, better than that, so, great album. But yeah, I can see why he still loved it. So it's all good there. So we get to another low light on a Ghostface Killah album. This one is Tush. I remember that song, Tush, Tush, Tush. I remember it. So we get Ghost's obvious attempt at commercial success, and you can tell with him linking up with Missy, and the entire vibe of this track, fairly decent, but not one of his best. So that's the only low light on this album. And I close it by saying that when I first played this, I remember liking it a lot at the time, and I did. It's still another excellent album in Ghost's discography, and some may say this is his most underrated album, but I would disagree. I give it 4 stars. No, Pretty Tony is not his most underrated album. Let me know what you think. Y'all might think differently, but I don't see it as his most underrated. All right, so we're gonna move on. All right. Now, before I start Fish Scales, so if you're just tuning in, I'm talking about Ghostface Killah, my number 5 favorite MC of all time. I am going to comment on his albums after the Apollo Kids album from 2010, but I'm just going to focus, more extensively on his most essential body of work. That's from Iron Man to Apollo Kids. So, if you tune in later, whether it's live or on the replay, shout out to you. All right. So next up, we got Fish Scale, released on March 28th, 2006, album number 5. Now, this album, I didn't get it when it initially came out. I don't know why, but I didn't get it until a couple of months later. I can't recall when I bought it, but I know I did buy it from, I think, Best Buy, either Best Buy or Circuit City. It escapes me. I want to say Best Buy. This was 2006. All right, so continuing on, we get to the highlights here. Shaky Dog, produced by Lewis Parker. I said, Ghost, excellent storytelling, starts this album off with a bang. He even mentions at the end to be continued, and to this day, the story hasn't been continued. It's all good. Tight opener though, 5 out of 5, and I am going to return to that later in this video regarding what I think may have been the sequel. So next up, we got Kilo featuring Raekwon, produced by Moss. Kilo is 1,000 grams. Yep. Fat Joe, Cameron, and Clips will later come with their version of this one, but there's no question that Ray and Ghost's version is superior. 4 out of 5 for that. Now, the Fat Joe, Cameron, and Clips version is on Fat Joe's album, The Dark Side Volume 1, which is probably one of his last great albums, I think. I haven't checked out too much after, well, I think I did check out The Dark Side Volume 3, but, was never really a fan of it. But I think Fat Joe, that's the last great thing that he was a part of, The Dark Side Volume 1. But that's another story. So continuing on with the highlights. Oh, yeah, 2 back-to-back highlights indeed. So we got The Champ, produced by Just Blaze. Love this song. If there ever was a Just Blaze produced banger, complete with a woo twist, this is it. Beginning with the Rocky 3 influence intro, in which it stated that Ghost, quote-unquote, hadn't been hungry since Supreme Clientele. I agree with that slightly. However, Ghost didn't half-ass his 3rd and 4th albums, but back to this track, Ghost kills it, sounding as raw as ever. The Champ indeed. Yes. Great stuff. I love this song. I would put this in his top 5 best songs. I mean, the beat is dope, the energy is hype, and just Ghostface, he is just at home on this one. So yeah, The Champ, great song. Speaking of great, we get the next one, produced by MF Doom. Rest in peace to him. I didn't want to say featuring Wu-Tang Clan for obvious reasons. This was another awesome song, as we hadn't heard all 9 members with Capadonna along for the ride on the same track in such a long time. The same Wu vibe and chemistry was still there. 5 out of 5 for this one. And there was some story about Inspector Deck's voice being different on here. I didn't research it going into this, but there was a story going around as to why his voice was different on that. But we're just going to keep it moving. So next up, we got, well, I just refer to the song as Crack Spot, produced by Crack Val. More storytelling from Ghost over this aptly titled joint. 4 out of 5. And then the next few highlights, everything is pretty much 4 out of 5. We get Ragu featuring Raekwon, produced by Pete Rock. I often said that their chemistry in hip-hop is one of the best. 4 out of 5 for that one. And then we got the J Dilla produced Whip You With a Strap, in which Ghost gives details about how and why he was spanked by his mom back in the day when he was bad. Then we get a fun track with Ghost and Trife, Be Easy, another one produced by Pete Rock. And then Pete Rock comes back with Dogs of War featuring Raekwon, Capadonna, and Sun God. What I say here is that Pete Rock again showed up for another tight beat, with this one being his best on the album. I especially love how the beat changes for Ray's verse. Overall, all 4 MCs represent here. 4.5 out of 5. And a word on this, a quick word. I would love to see Ghostface do more work with Pete Rock. And I definitely would like Raekwon to do some more work with Pete Rock too, because I always had this idea you could have had a Ray Rock album, with Pete Rock producing all of the songs on the album with Raekwon. I definitely would like to see a Ghostface Pete Rock album as well. I mean, we could still see that, but I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like that. So, Then next up, we get the next highlight, Mama featuring Megan Rochelle, produced by Sean Kane and LV. Anyone who appreciates and loves their mother will no doubt love this song, so we go 5 out of 5 for that. Songs like that tend to touch me because of my own relationship with my mom. So definitely a highlight there. So Even on this excellent album, we have some lowlights. 1 second. So the skits, there were way too many of them. Some were funny and others were not needed at all. Then there was a song called Three Bricks. I didn't think Biggie's vocals were needed for this track as it was being done to death on other songs at this point. Yeah, Three Bricks could have been left off, I think. Or maybe I need to revisit it. Who knows? All right. So overall, this no doubt was Ghost's best album since 2000 Supreme Clientele, solidifying him as the most consistent and hardworking member of the Wu. And it kind of does back up that theory, you haven't been hungry since Supreme Clientele. But okay, it's also one of 2006 best albums, and we will see more from Ghost that year. So I give this one a 4.5 star rate. Definitely a awesome album. Could have done without the skits, but overall, it's great stuff. All right. Next up, we get More Fish, released on December 12th, 2006. Now, I was surprised by this release. I think I did get this sometime in 2007. I can't recall where I first heard it, but the way that I look at this album is it's basically a collection of songs that didn't make Fish scale. That's how I look at it. It's not a compilation, but it didn't make the cut for Fish scale. So let's delve right into this one with the highlight. So we got the Ghost is Back, produced by Ghostface and J Love. Ghost uses the instrumental of Eric B. and Rakim's classic Know the Ledge and gives it a strong Wu-Tang vibe, almost in a freestyle format. So we go 4 out of 5 for that one. And the next remaining highlights are 4 out of 5 songs here. So we got Miguel Sanchez with Only Trife the God and Sun God. I'm going to talk about Trife the God a little bit more in this video too. So this was produced by Phantom of the Beats. 2 men step up their talent efforts here, tracking down, chasing the drug lord. Then we got Guns and Razors featuring Killer Sin, Capadon, and Trife the God, produced by MF Doom. More dope storytelling here, almost like a movie of sorts in which they're on the run. Then we got the Sun God featured Street Alpha. I think that's Ghostface Killah's son too, if I'm not mistaken. Produced by Phantom of the Beats. We get the street lyrics, dope beat, and the opera style hook. Nice. Then we got Trife the God and the Willie Cottrell band featured Josephine, produced by High Tech, another underrated producer. I told you y'all, go got an ear for beats. A well-told story documenting the trials and tribulations of one Josephine, 4 out of 5. Then we got the next highlights here. So we got more Wu Block and Wu Block goodness, 4 out of 5 for Blue Armor, featuring Chic Luch, produced by Phantom of the Beats. And then this is the first time ever that I'm giving a 3.5 out of 5 song a highlight spot. And in this case, that would be You Know I'm Good, featuring the late Amy Winehouse, produced by Mark Ronson. And I said another Ghost track here where he's going in as far as the Nasty Girl is concerned. And the late Amy Winehouse is great on this hook, So from there, we go to another low point on the Ghostface Killah album. And y'all can tell by that title, that song speaks for itself. Shouldn't have made the album, and it definitely wouldn't have been good on the Fish Scale album either. So my ending thoughts on this one, I said, after revisiting this, well, my feelings are still the same in that it's a very good release, but nothing spectacular. And with the possible exceptions of Ghost is Back, Blue Armor, and the Back Like That remix, none of these were good enough for the excellent Fish Scale. Now, Ghost is Back, that probably would have been out of place on Fish Scale, I think. Blue Armor probably would have been out of place too, I think. So there I said none of these were good enough for the Fish Scale album. Now when I'm thinking about it, now who knows, if I listen to it again, I may change my mind. But as far as I sit here right now, no, none of the songs on More Fish were good enough for Fish Scale, which necessitated this album. So there we have it. More Fish. So then we continue on. Album number 7, The Big Doe Rehab. I got a small story about this one. Now, I was looking forward to this one. I bought this one when it first came out, December 7th, 2007. What also came out on that day was Scarface's album Made, and I bought both of those together from Best Buy. Now, What also didn't hit me until a couple of years later was that Styles P's third album, Super Gangster Extraordinary Gentleman. That came out the same day. So why I didn't pick that one up too, I don't know. Because I would get that much later. I think I got that in 2008, I think. But yeah, it still bothers my mind a little bit as to why I didn't get that one when I got those two out. So we're going to get to Big Doe Rehab with the highlights. So we got Tony Siegel, aka the Barrel Brothers, featuring Beanie Siegel, produced by Sean Z, C, and LV for the Hitmen. So after the introductory activities at the Cabana, we head right into the hardcore with this Beanie Siegel assisted song. Ghost is his usual self here, but Siegel nearly steals the show as he goes in, even as the song is ending. Beanie Siegel had a knack for doing that. He usually was dope with it. So 4 out of 5 for this one. Then we're going to another 4 out of 5 for song for Yolanda's House, featuring Raekwon and Method Man, produced by Ant Live. This young lady's house is part of the running plot of this 3-man woo story, funny and witty. Next up, we got Walk Around, produced by Anthony Acid. I like the Little Milton sample on this one, courtesy of Packed Up and Took My Mind. Standard Ghostface fare here. Now, initially, I did give it a 3.5 out of 5, but I did turn around and give it a 4 out of 5. He said, y'all will book out too if you had somebody flesh on you, So just one of them Ghostface Killah stories that more than accustomed to at this point. So I like that song too. Then we go to White Linen Affair, Tony Awards, featuring Sean Wiggs, or aka Sean Ripple, produced by Scram Jones, another underrated name. Shout out to Ghostface working with all these underrated producers, man. I'm telling you, that guy got a great ear for beats. And then when you factor in RZA, Fourth Disciple, True Master, Mathematics, I mean, that guy got a great ear for beats. So this one, a fictional piece that follows Ghost and Wiggs at the creatively titled Tony Awards, which was attended by many celebrities, mostly hip-hop and R&B artists. Ghost is superb as the MC for this affair, and Wiggs doesn't do badly either, closing the song on a funny yet good note. 4.5 out of 5 for this one. So then the highlights continue. We got Super GFK, produced by Ghostface and Anthony Acid. Give me a second here. All right. Over Well Done Superman Lover sample, courtesy of Johnny Guitar Wilson. I believe he passed away too. Ghost brings a fresh vibe to a classic previously sampled by Redman for his Superman Lover series. 4 out of 5. Then we go to another 4 out of 5 highlight, Rec Room Therapy, featuring Raekwon and You God, produced by Baby Grand. 4 nice verses, 2 from Ghost, 1 from Ray, and 1 from You God over a system random beat. I always felt You God had the best verse on this one. I still do. Get money, Ghost. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. The highlights continue. I'll Die For You, produced by Sean C and LV. A deep song here, as Ghost almost emotionally goes into details about who and what he would die for and why. 5 out of 5. For Brother Malcolm and my brother Martin. For my ancestors picking cotton, just to name a couple, So that's a highlight in itself. Then we got Paisley Darts, featuring Raekwon, Method Man, Capadonna, Trife the God, and Sun God. This may be the best song on the album, produced by Sean C and LV. All 5 of these MCs bring it nicely over a thumping beat, especially Ghost, who effectively uses the letter B in a dope opening verse. So 5 out of 5 for that. So then for the second time ever, we got a highlight here that's 3.5 out of 5. Shaky Dog Shaky Dog starring Lolita, featuring Raekwon, another one produced by Sean C and LV. This may or may not be part 2 to Shaky Dog from the Fish Scale album. Either way, while very good, it's not better than its predecessor. I mean, I like the song, but still good enough for a highlight. And then we bring things to a close with Slow Down, featuring Chrisette Michele, produced by Science. She's underrated too, but her career ain't been the same since she made a decision to perform at Donald Trump's inauguration after the 2016 presidential election. But I digress. I like this one a lot as Miss Michelle sings nicely. Plus, the beat slows down when she begins the hook, and Ghost brings things back as his verse starts. Great stuff here. 4 out of 5. Now, we have another excellent album by Ghost, which is the usual. Although it was one of the best albums of 2007, it was hugely slept on. Plus, there was no buzz for it, unfortunately. Ghost also wasn't pleased that most fans were illegally downloading the album instead of buying it, and that greatly affected its sales as this album allegedly has moved 35,000 units to date. It may be his second most underrated album, with the first one being 2001's Bulletproof Violence. I followed it up by saying Big Dope Rehab may be Ghost's most underrated album. Now, when I think about it, determining his most underrated effort would be a very engaging discussion that I would participate in. Now, going back to Ghost not being pleased with the illegal downloads of the album, let me go ahead and find that video. I had it up, but when my computer was freezing, and I was exiting out some stuff, it exited out this particular post. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up and show y'all exactly what Ghostface said. And I do remember seeing it at the time as well, And now this was back during the MySpace era. And I'm sure most people listening to this or who can be listening to it later, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to MySpace, because MySpace was the in thing before there was a Facebook. Well, Facebook was here, but MySpace was still the in thing as far as social media goes. So, want to look at what social media started, we can write at MySpace. Now, other people will probably say blackplanet.com. As far as I'm concerned, history should be MySpace. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that one played right quick, just so I can show y'all what he said at the time. All right, check this out, y'all.
Yo, what up? What up? Y'all already know what it do. It's your boy. I'm back in the fucking building again, man. You know what I mean? Right now, we about to tear down VA right now. We on the tour, the Wu tour. We trying to land right now. You know what I mean? Hitting all these spots up. You know what I mean? Y'all know we got 2 albums in the stores, 8 diagrams. You know what I mean? And the Big Dope Rehab. I told y'all before I dropped the CD, but I got my first week sound scan, and I appreciate that shit. You feel me? Because I got like 115,000 fans on the MySpace. Y'all motherfuckers are still downloading my shit, man. You know what I mean? I thought y'all motherfuckers love me, man. You know what I'm saying? I go all out for y'all, and I love y'all, man. Y'all niggas be hurting the kid because y'all don't want to go cop our CD. You feel me? Y'all rather download our shit, which is, which is cool, whatever. But it's like, come on, man. We do this, man. We spend a lot of time in the studio, you know what I mean, and putting this work in to come out, with no results when we drop our albums and shit, man. So I'm just saying that like 150,000 friends on the MySpace, you know what I mean, and I get like 30,000 or something like that in the first week, man. That's not good, man. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of y'all got my shit, but y'all just downloaded it, man. You know what I mean? Y'all asking y'all to go to the store and buy that, man. You know what I mean? I'm using all these samples, trying to put all this shit together for y'all, man. Y'all niggas are still on that bullshit, man. You know what I mean? If y'all really rolling with the kid, snap out that shit, man. You know what I mean? This is real talk, man. It's coming from your homie, man. Y'all niggas gonna make me lead the game, man, based on y'all niggas doing shit like that, man. I thought y'all loved me, man. You know what I mean? Go cop that CD, man. Even if you downloaded that shit, man, go to the store and cop that, man. If you really love your man. And then it's like that. When I come to your town, show me that motherfucking CD. Show me the CD. You know what I mean? And we could all have meetings. I take a personal meeting with all y'all niggas every time I'm in the town. Just show me, bring the CD to the show, and show me that you did that. And I sit there and I kick it with y'all. We can get goosed out, whatever y'all want to do, man. You know what I mean? So I know that, y'all niggas, and if all y'all motherfuckers go to that shit there, then we could all have a powwow. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Don't front on the kid like that, man. I ain't front of y'all when I delivered it, man. Don't front on me like that, man. You know what I mean? So, to the next time, man, 8 grams in stores, man. You know what I mean? Cuban Links is coming soon. You know what I mean? The Big Dope Rehab is in stores right now, man. Go cut that shit, yo. For real. One.
And I remember seeing that at the time, and I was like, wow. Now that shows you the power that social media was starting to have. When you got videos like that, And on a side note, the eight diagrams album, I did get that. I didn't get that when it first came out. I got that like a short time later. Yeah, I'm gonna do a video about that album too. But as I'm concerned, Big Doe Rehab is way better than that. Way better than that album. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, that shows the power that social media was starting to have, because that came straight on MySpace at the time. So, you know, with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into the 8th album. Ghostface Killah presents Ghost Dini, Wizard of Poetry. Now, this came out on 7/29, 2009. I bought this, I want to say, in either, I think, November 2009. I bought it from Best Buy along with the Method Man and Redman Gout album, which I'm going to do a video about that as well. Now, this album was interesting because Ghostface, he stepped back from his comfort zone and he did pretty much an R&B inspired album. You know, was I skeptical? No, but I was intrigued to see how he. So let's take a look at the highlights, shall we? All right, so Not Your Average Girl featuring Sharifa, produced by Scram Jones. I always thought Sharifa was underrated. I don't even think she makes music anymore either, unless she does it on the low. She does her thing on the hook, while Ghost describes his type of girl as not the average. 4 out of 5. So then we get another 4 out of 5 song with Raheem, Radio, Devon, produced by Mahogany and the Califat. Now, another great artist on this one in the form of Raheem Devon, and like Sharifa on the opener, he does well on the hook. After all the things Ghost has done relationship-wise, all he's looking for is a quote-unquote do-over. All right. Now, the next highlight, which I feel is the best song on the album, Baby, also featuring Mr. Devon. This was produced by Austin Watts Garrick and Rashad Ringo Smith. The hook was okay. It could have been better if it hadn't been auto-tuned. 3 bangers in a row, and the production here is quite awesome. Now, initially, I gave it 4 out of 5, but this is more like 4.5 out of 5, you know. But I take off a few points because of the hook being auto-tuned. But make no mistake about it, this song, great. And I think the ladies will love it too. Probably one of the more, well, no, there are some friendly songs for the ladies from Ghost in his discography, but this one may be at the top of the list. I think the ladies will love it too. And plus, when you got Raheem Vaughn, yeah, good stuff. Next, we got Lonely featuring Jack Knight, produced by Sean C. and LV. We all have had that time in our lives when we were alone, and it's not a good feeling. In Ghost's case, his mistakes have made. In Ghost's case, his mistakes have him on the outside looking in while another man is with his lady. Ouch. That's a tough pill to swallow indeed. Pretty good song overall. 4 out of 5. And the 4 out of 5 highlights continue with Stay, produced by Skymark. Another aptly titled song here is Ghost tries to convince the lady to stay, all done over the old school vibe provided by Skymark. Then we got Paragraphs of Love featuring Vaughn, Anthony, and Estelle, produced by Bay Major and Tim Bonsky. Woo Poetry, and it's nice. Guest House featuring Fabulous and Sharifa. I'm a Fabulous fan. I'm going to be doing a video on him too. Produced by Justice League, another underrated team of producers. It all goes down at the Guest House, and with Ghost and Fabulous one with Sharifa along for the ride, I like it a lot. It's quite an interesting story too. 4 out of 5. She's a Killer featuring Ron Browns, produced by Anthony Acid. This is Ghost type of woman, and it's explored in detail over a thumping Anthony Acid production and a hype Ron Brown's hook. 4 out of 5. And then we close with another highlight at 3.5 out of 5. The Back Like That remix featuring Kanye West and Neo, produced by Extreme. Now, back in the day, I had an issue with Neo doing this hook on the remix and the original, but I mean, years after the fact, you know, I don't have no issue with it. And I said right here, I like this better than the original. Not sure why this was included here, considering it was on the Fish Scale and more Fish albums, respectively. Now, Fish Scale, I think the original was on that one. It shouldn't have been included on More Fish. So I do get why it was included on the Ghost Dini Wizard of Poetry album, you know, because it's an R&B inspired album. They didn't need to be on More Fish. Now, what I said at that time was this album is a lot better than I initially gave it credit for, and it was very slept on when it came out. Yeah, This was 2009, so at this point, you know, even though CDs were still being sold, we were in the ringtone era and download and stuff like that. So empty versions and all of that, you know, it was heading in that direction at this point, you know. But I also said that I guess not too many fans were ready for this type of album from Ghost. Be that as it may, this is excellent, and I commend Ghostface for trying something different and succeeding. I increased my initial 3.5 star rating to a solid 4 stars, definitely. All right, and then we're gonna end it right here with his essential material, um, the Apollo Kids album, released on December 21st, 2010. Now, I have a small story about this one. I pre-ordered this on BestBuy.com along with T.I.'s No Mercy, which I no longer have, Sheik Luch's Don Gorilla album, no longer have that. No, hold on. I do have the Sheik Luch album, Don Gorilla, but it's not one of his best. And that was that I a fourth album that I pre-ordered at that time too. What was it? You had Ghostface, Apollo Kids, T.I. No Mercy, um, Sheik Luch, Don Gorilla, and there's one more that I pre-ordered at the time. Man, should I go through my archives and see what album it was? I can't think of it off the top of my head because it was 4 of them. Oh, you know what? The Redman Reggie album. That's what it was. I ordered all of them at the same time. So I can't recall when they arrived, but I pre-ordered them at the same time. And let's be clear, the Ghostface album was the best of those 4. Okay. Shout out to Equator 7 for the thumbs up. You know, coming in a little late towards the end, but it's all good. So I appreciate that. So Equator 7, shout out to you. All right. So we're going to continue on with highlights here. So going into this one, we got Purified Thoughts featuring Jizza and Killer Priest, produced by Frank Dukes. This is one aptly titled opener right here. Ghost starts it off right, followed by 2 equally good verses from Jizza and Killer Priest. Now, most people will probably say Killer Priest is underrated. He has some good verses throughout his career, but I never really followed him like that. I mean, he's a good artist in his own right, but he wasn't my cup of tea, even with the Wu influence, you know, that he had, you know, or maybe still has, you know. But he's still good, you know. He ain't whack or anything like that. He just never was my cup of tea outside of his first album, Heavy Mental, his verse on Fourth Chamber, and the Basic Instructions before leaving Earth on the Liquid Swords album. So yeah, you know, good, but like my cup of tea. You know, now Jizza, I love Jizza. So next highlight, we got Drama featuring Joel Ortiz in the Game, produced by Sean C and LV. They're showing up on a lot of Ghostface albums at this point. Drama indeed, and all 3 C's lyrically speak of those issues in this tight song. Game's verse is probably one of the last dope ones to come from him. 4 out of 5 for that. I do think that's the case. Game, I guess most people would say Game fell off, but the last couple of albums that he dropped, I wasn't really too crazy about. As far as I'm concerned, the last real dope thing that he's made was the 1992 album, and I think that came out in 2016. Now, Joel Ortiz is still doing his thing. I think him and King Crooked, you know, two of the 4 members from the group that used to be named Slaughterhouse, they about to drop an album, I think sometime next month. I got to check that one out, but I'm going to be checking that one out. So yeah, this is a dope song right here. So shout out to all of them. Next up, Together Baby. I love this joint. Produced by Yakub, I believe that's how it's pronounced. This is vintage Ghost right here, delivering that unmistakable flow over a nice beat with dope samples courtesy of the Intruders together and Sammy K's Blueberry Hill. 4 out of 5. Yeah, I love that joint. That joint, I mean, it's a fast-paced song, but it's dope. I would play it right now, but then again, I could have played so many other things. And even though this is coming from, it would be coming from my collection, I don't want to get no copyright strikes, you know. So continuing on. So like I said, definitely a highlight. Then we got Stalkology, produced by, again, Scram Jones. I remember going crazy when I first played this joint. I recall playing it 3 times in a row in the ride at the time. Dope stuff all around. 4 out of for that one. Then we get more highlights in the park featuring Black Thoughts from the Roots, produced by Frank Dukes. Ghost does this thing here on this ode to our culture in the park, complete with an ill sample of Johnny Thunder's I'm Alive. But make no mistake about it, Black Thought kills this one. And like I always said, on a song that has a Black Thought guest appearance, that guy pretty much steals the show on any song that he is on. He was on a song with Raekwon, the Shaolin versus Wu-Tang album, Masters of Our Fate. He stole the show on that joint. Yeah, anytime he get on the song, he steals the show. I think he's still active now. We should have been got a solo album from him, but I guess when you consider that work with the Roots, you can consider that his work right there. And I need to revisit some of them Roots albums too. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video. Then again, I might do a video, but yeah, Black Thought definitely underrated. You know, one of the most underrated MCs you'll ever find. You know, definitely a monster on the mic. Next up, How You Like Me Baby, produced by Pete Rock. I love this joint. How You Like Ghost. He does this hard Pete Rock production justice. I love that joint, man. Fast paced, but still dope. And then we close things out as far as the highlights are concerned with Troublemakers featuring Raekwon, Method Man, and Redman, produced by another underrated producer in the form of Jake One. Great, great song. It goes hard and it closes the album in great fashion. All 4 men work wonders over Jake One slamming beat. I can't even begin to tell you who had the best verse in this song. 5 out of 5, probably the best song on the album. But the joint with Black Thought may get a run for money. And the only low point on this album was Handcuffing Them Hoes, featuring Jim Jones. This is one of those songs that would have been better on the Ghostini album, and the song title sounds like something you would hear from these clowns running hip hop today. Now, at the time I initially did that review, when was it? That was back when I had my old blog. So we talking sometime between 2015 and 2017, maybe, if I had to take a guess. But you know, and a song like that, it would see the light of day today, most likely, you know. But yeah, that was a low point on this album. So then we carrying on. So I said that after I first played, my initial rating was 4.5 stars. However, I have to knock this down to a solid 4-star rating. I also recall saying it was better than Ray Shaolin versus Wu-Tang album, and I retract that statement also. It still goes doing what he does best. Now, I don't know what would make me say it was better than the Shaolin versus Wu-Tang album, which came out months after this. You know, Shaolin versus Wu-Tang came out in March 2011, and I got that when it first came out from Best Buy. I'm going to talk about that on this channel as well. So, you know, so other than that, great stuff here. Now, this is where we in the most essential work in Ghost discography. You know, now, best album, part of me would say Supreme Clientele. Then the next day I could turn around and say Iron Man, but I think where it stands right now, I think I'm going to stick with Supreme Clientele as far as his best work. His most underrated work, I'm going to give that to Big Doe Rehab. You know, that could easily be challenged by what? Bulletproof Wallace, maybe, but I think as far as most underrated, well, no, I take that back. It would be challenged. Maybe Apollo Kids, maybe it'll challenge Big Doe Rehab as far as the most underrated album in his discography, but I think I'm going to stick with Big Doe Rehab for now. You know, but that right there, you know, 8 albums in, that's some great work. You know, the average album rating is about 4.5 stars. The only album that came under that was More Fish, which was 3.5 stars, you know. And like I said, the majority of that album was not good enough for the Fish Sky. So, you know, so that's where we hit the essential work. So now let me talk about everything else in his discography here. So, all right, this one right here, 36 Seasons, released on December 9th, 2014. Now, I bought that when it initially came out. I bought that from FYE. This was a great album. If you want to hear something from a storytelling standpoint, this was that album. I haven't played it in so long. And as a matter of fact, I did do a review of this on my old blog. I may include those I may include those links in the description box for this. I'm not sure. I may figure it out when the live stream is over, but we'll continue here. But this was a great album. I think I gave it 4 stars, either 4 stars or 4.5. All right. Next up, and this is basically his studio albums right here. So then we got Ghostface Killahs. This came out on September 6, 2019. I remember ordering this a couple months after the fact. I only played it twice. It was good, but you know, you can tell Ghostface was starting to age at this point. It may be due for a revisit, but we'll have to see about that. You know, I ordered this one from Amazon. Yeah. All right. Now, this is the more recent one right here. Now, I talked about this one on my channel. So if you haven't checked out my review of the album, Set the Tone, be sure to go ahead and check that out as well. Now, this one is going to always have a special tie to me because this one dropped on my son's graduation. So whenever I think about this album, it's going to take me back to that time. Now, this album was pretty good. I gave it 3.5 stars. The 2 best songs on this album, of course, is the Joint with Nas, Scar Tissue. I mean, that's a great song. Check that out if you haven't done so already. And Kilo with a Safe with Iceman, that's a dope song too. And the other good songs on this album, you got Locked In with AZ and BB. There's 6 Minutes with Sheek Louch, Jim Jones, and Harley. Paramus with Method Man is pretty good. And Skate Odyssey with Raekwon and October London is pretty good too. And like I said, 3.5 stars. Outside of those songs that I mentioned, I'm probably not going to revisit anything else. But if this was his way to give us something before we get to the next album, which I'm going to talk about, that he did a good job. But you see, it had a little buzz when it was announced, but a month after the fact, nobody is talking about it. Pretty much, I'm probably the only person that's talking about it right now, you know, and that's no disrespect or anything, but, you know, had a little bit of buzz, but after that, that was it, you know. But Scar Tissue and Kilo and Safe, dope stuff. Now, the intro, excuse me, the outro of this album, he said, stay tuned for the next album. He said in his own words, Supreme Clientele 2, Indiana Tone, and the Temple of Goons. Now, that right there, it sounds great. Now, initially, he said that Supreme Clientele 2 was going to be the Blue and Cream album, you know, like with the Wallabies and stuff like that, you know. Now, who knows? Can we get a Supreme Clientele 3, the Blue and Cream album? You know, we should see. But either way, I'm looking forward to what he does next. Now, we can say with certainty that, you know, years after the fact, it's not going to match the initial quality of Supreme Clientele. It can be close to it, you know, and I think he's able to pull off what Raekwon did with the sequel to Only Beautiful Cuban Links, you know, because Only Beautiful Cuban Links came out in 95. The sequel came out in 2009. So in this case, Supreme Clientele 2 may drop almost 30 years after the initial Supreme Clientele. Do I think Ghost can pull it off? Definitely. You know, he should incorporate some of the same elements that was on Supreme Clientele and include them on the album. You definitely got to get Raekwon on there. You got to get Meth on there. You got to get RZA in some form, you know, as well as others. You know, you got to, even though you can't recapture that same lightning in the blue bottle, you can give some elements that'll make it a great album. And as far as I'm concerned, after I finish listening to the album, and hopefully it comes out on CD, but after I finish that album, one of my thoughts overall should be this was his best work since Apollo Kids or something like that. Maybe even 36 Seasons, who knows? But stay tuned for that. And like I said, mark that down. Supreme Clientele 2, Indiana Tone, and the Temple of Goons. Mark that down. All right. So then we get into the rest of his discography. So we got, you know, we're going to talk about compilations and stuff like that. So this one right here, Theodore Unit, this was his crew. You know, take a look at that cover right there. And I'm going through right now looking at some of the covers. I'm gonna look at this one. Let me bring this up. Now, This was looked at as a mixtape. Came out August 3rd, 2004. And it did kind of play like a mixtape, but as far as I'm concerned, the two of the highlights on this one is that opener, Gorilla Hood with Ghostface. Man, dope stuff. I love that joint. And then the drummer with Ghostface, Method Man, Street Life, and Trife, produced by Self. That was a highlight too. And man, they go in on that joint. You know, that one did come off like a free of sorts. But other than that, the only real people who was checking for that album is the real, you know, like hardcore Ghostface fans. Because outside of that, I don't think anybody had checked out that joint like I did, you know. And now I didn't get it when it initially came out. I bought that like a couple of years after that. And I don't think I saw it in any stores. I think I got this off eBay, and I got it off eBay brand new. But I mean, it's pretty dope. But like I said, those highlights, the drummer and Gorilla Hood, dope stuff. All right. This one right here, I got this a couple of years ago. I got it brand new on eBay. Just because, I mean, I wasn't really going to add it to my collection, but I was like, oh, let me go ahead and get this. I mean, it's no problem. And it was just mainly a lot of live performances, you know, nothing real out there, nothing that's essential. But if you want Ghostface live, you know, this was a good place to start. You know, so yeah, good stuff. Like I said, it's a good addition to my collection, but the chances of me revisiting it, you know, slim to none right now. All right, this joint right here, put it on the line. Now, I never seen this in the store. This came out November 22nd, 2005. I never seen this in the store, but for a second. Okay, yeah, I never seen this one in the store. I ordered it on eBay. I got it at a decent, no, either eBay or have.com. Y'all remember have.com, which was a subsidiary of eBay at the time, and I got it brand new too. You know, now let me see, cocaine trafficking, that opener, dope. I mean, tight to up. And I think that no, was not talking about cocaine, and in fact, he was basically equating cocaine with, you know, dope hip hop. You know, you get what I'm saying. That was a dope there. Now, I think the sole purpose of the album was to make a star out of Trife God. Now, did that happen? No, but it still was a good album. And like I said, it did a good job to put Trife God out there with Ghostface Killah along the way. But Trife God, he's not a big name, you know. Now, most notably, what a bonus tracks on this album, you had The Watch, which initially was supposed to have been on the not Big Doe Rehab. That was supposed to have been on the Bulletproof Wireless album, but again, due to sample clearance issues and everything else that was on it, was cut from the album, but we finally got it in. It was a pretty good song. There's also The Sun, featuring Ghostface, featuring Raekwon and Slick Rick. That also was supposed to have been on the Bulletproof Wireless album, but it didn't make the cut. It should have. And plus, it was mentioned in the insert. And then they also had Ghost and Gia Khan, which was Ghostface and Cool G Rap. Now, that song came a little bit too late, I think, because look, just imagine if between 1995 and 1998, if we would have got a Ghostface Killah and a G Rap song either over RZA production or even Marley Marl production. We'll be talking about it today. And that song, it was dope, but it still came a little bit too late, you know. And now that I think about it, would a Ghostface G-Rap collaboration album work? I don't know. Definitely some interesting ideas, though. All right, so let's move on. Okay, now this joint right here. I remember seeing this on Best Buy's website at the time for pre-order, and without knowing any additional details, I went ahead and pre-ordered this. Y'all, let me tell you something. The release date kept changing. I mean, it eventually settled on March 13th, 2007. Now I pre-ordered this like sometime in, I think, either late 2006 or the early part of 2007. And again, the release date kept changing, and it's like Best Buy was putting the charge on hold. They kept taking it off. They kept putting it on hold and taking it off until finally, you know, it was shipped to my house. And I was like, man, okay. So right here, Hidden Dark Special Edition. You know, I still got that CD too. This was a compilation of B-sides and remixes and, you know, things that didn't make other albums or was cut from other albums. And looking at the insert right now, the Watch, they included that on this album. The joint with Raekwon, When You Walk, Met the Man in Street Life, which when I talked about the Iron Man album, remember that I said that it was a Boxing Hand Part 2? That's what this was referred to way back when. But I don't think that was ever looked at as a sequel to Boxing Hand. And then again, with all due respect to that song, why would Boxing Hand need a part 2? You know, so there was a song called Good Times. I mentioned that in the Bulletproof Wallets review. There was another version of 9 Milli Brothers, The Sun with Slick Rick, and the RZA that was on here. So it was a lot of dope stuff on this one. But like I said, I pre-ordered on bestbuy.com, and it was on hold, the charge rather. It was on hold for a long time. And then when I finally got it, I was like, thank you, you know. All right, then we got this one right here, Wu Massacre. This came out March 30th, 2010, and I bought this when it first came out. It was pretty good, but, you know, there's a reason why we didn't see a part 2 or a second installment. You know, the one thing that comes to mind from this joint is Meth vs. Chef Part 2, you know. And speaking of a second installment, I did throw an idea out there that if there was a second installment, the second installment should have been GZA, Inspector Deck, and I believe Master Killer. Let me see. Yeah, GZA, Inspector Deck, Master Killer for Wu Massacre Volume 2. But like I said, overall, there was a reason why we didn't get a Volume 2. You know, whether it was Meth, Ghost, and Ray, or whether it would have been 3 other members of the group. You know, there's a reason why we didn't get it. This had a slight buzz at them, but after a while, it died off pretty quickly, and nobody was really talking about it outside of the diehard Wu fans. All right, so then next up, Wu Block. Okay, now, I believe this was released on CD, you know, November 27, 2012. Now, I have the iTunes MP3 version. I need to check and see if there's a CD version, but I thought it was a pretty good collaboration album at the time. I was looking forward to it because it was announced way ahead of time, you know, or should I say it was announced in advance, and it was a few months before it eventually dropped. And Ghostface and Sheek Louch were behind this one. You know, now there was some, you know, Styles P was on this album, Jadakiss was on this album, other members of the Wu was on this album. And the song that comes to mind for me is Do It Like Us. I love that song. I would play it right now, but, you know, don't want to get no copyright strike here, even though it would be coming directly from my collection. So, you know, but like I said, good song. The album was pretty good, but again, it had a small buzz at the time. But after that, that was it. You know, you notice a trend here when we get into the latter part of the 2000s, albums having small buzzes and stuff like that. But after a while, it just dies off quickly. And I think that's because hip hop as a whole was changing. You know, CDs were no longer the order of the day in terms of purchases. You know, now you had downloading, streaming was about to come into play. You know, people could buy individual songs and stuff like that. So things were changing and things were becoming more fast paced, you know, as the 2010s started, you know. And also, they did announce that a Wu Block 2 was going to be released, but that never saw the light of day. Now, after all these years, if that joint is in the vault somewhere, I hope we get it, you know. But the way things looking, I think if there was a part 2, we would have seen it by now. So, you know, but they still collaborate every now and then, so that's a good thing. All right. Then we got the 12 Reasons to Die. Adrian Younge, I think that's how it's pronounced. You know, this was decent. It's one that you got to take your time with. It's more of a storytelling thing than anything else. It was pretty good. I think I bought this when it first came out from Best Buy, but I haven't really listened to it a lot. This is one of those albums where you can't listen to it in the ride. You gotta listen to this at home to get the actual concept regarding what's going on. And it's a pretty good concept. Like I said, I may revisit it at some point. All right, then we got this one. This is the Brown tape. 12 Reasons to Die, the Brown tape, released on April 22nd, 2013. This was produced entirely by Apollo Brown, another underrated producer. He did this thing on here. I need to revisit this one too. I got this off of either eBay or half.com, and I haven't played in a long time. Then we got Sour Soul. This one was with what's the name of that crew? Bad, Not Good. I think that's what it's called. This came out on February 24, 2015. I cannot recall. I heard about that album, and I think that company or that team, I think they're based in Canada, but it was a good album. I think I gave it 4 stars. I think the 12 Reasons to Die, I think I gave that 4 stars. The Brown tape gave that 4 stars. I think the and going back just a bit to Put It on the Line album, I gave that 4 stars. If I had to rate that Theodore album, that 718 album, probably 3.5 or 4 stars for that one. Yep, so then we continue on. And we get the sequel, 12 Reasons to Die 2, released on July 10th, 2015. Probably 4 stars for that one. I think I played that one once, and that was it. So maybe a revisit is in order. Who knows? All right. Then we got this one, The Lost Tapes. Now, this came out October 5th, 2018. I want to say I pre-ordered this from Amazon, or I ordered it a few weeks after it came out, or a month or 2 after it came out. I think Ghost was trying to go the Nas route here. It was more or less a collection of unreleased material. I don't think this was anything that was cut from other albums or didn't make it to any other albums for whatever reason. I only played it twice. It was a couple of good joints on there. I may revisit this one. Who knows? All right. Then we got this one, and that's the end right here. Ghostface meets Ghostface. This came out February 15th, 2019. I may revisit this. I think I played it once, and that was it. Never did add it to my collection. But Ghostface does well when it comes to collaboration albums and concept albums and things like that. So I think I might revisit this one. So with all that being said, y'all, we have approached the end of this particular session. Now, this is my first live stream. So I wish there would have been a lot more engagement here, because I definitely would have liked to talk to other fans about Ghostface and his work. But, as it stands, hopefully somebody will see this, after the fact, on replay and things like that. But either way, I'm glad I got this in. So at the end of this, I just want to say that Ghostface, and, if this gets to him or whatever the case may be, I want to thank this man for his contribution since 1993. And like I said at the beginning, definitely the most creative member of the Wu, the most consistent member of the Wu, hardworking, definitely has a great ear for beats. As I talked about in this show, he has linked up not only with big name producers, but also underrated producers. And like I said, as far as the Wu, I think he has a great ear for next to RZA, and RZA is a producer. Shout out to RZA, and shout out to everybody else who has collaborated with this man. Like I said, flow was always great. The emotional side that he brought to his records, whether he was being serious or whether he was doing it for humor, was always great. Energy was always great. What you heard was what you got. What you saw was what you got. There'll never be another Ghostface Killah, that's for sure. This man's putting in work. He's still putting in work. And I can't wait until that Supreme Clientele 2 album drops, hopefully next year. But I definitely would want him to put in his time with that. Don't rush that, and hopefully he releases it on CD too. I definitely want that in my book, So like I said, major shout out to Ghostface Killah, my number 5 favorite MC of all time, aka Tony Starks. you know, the Wallaby champ, you know. So thank you, man. Thank you for everything from Iron Man all the way up to Set the Tone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And on that note, we have come to the end of my first ever live stream. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen more engagement, but it's all good. You know, that's up to y'all. So hopefully you'll turn around and listen to this one, you know, in addition to the one about Nas, the one about Jay-Z, the one on Rakim, and the one Biggie. You know, hopefully y'all check it out. Now, I'm going to decide probably after this as to whether I'm going to do my next top 10 MC session, whether I'm going to do that live or I'm just going to record it and upload it later, because the next one, and I already got the my thoughts on it done and edited. Well, no, I do got to go back and make some other edits. So, you know, no secret here. The next session is going to be Method Man. So stay tuned for that one. That one is probably going to be, if I had to take a guess, maybe within the next couple of weeks or towards the end of the month. We'll see how things go in terms of what I cover on the channel and what my own personal schedule is looking like. July is shaping up to be a very good but busy month. So we'll see how things turn out. So yeah, the next top 10 MC session is going to be Method Man. You know, his is going to be a little shorter because I'm going to be talking about the Tikal album, Tikal 2000 Judgment Day, the Tikal Over the Prequel album, and the 421 the After album. I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to do the Blackout albums because that's with Redman. So, you know, maybe I may do them both videos, maybe I may do them on one video or do a separate video. I don't know, but we'll see about that. So, with all that being said, it's been real on this live stream. And again, I wish there could have been more engagement, but it's all good. You know, I'm happy I was able to get this out either way, you know, with or without the engagement. But I would have liked to have seen it. I definitely would have liked to have seen, you know, the comments where people talking about their favorite Ghostface song, their favorite Ghostface verse, most favorite album, least favorite album. I would have liked that, but it's all good. It's all love over here. So, with all that being said, y'all, we've come to the end of this one. If you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments, definitely regarding your thoughts on Ghostface Killah, as well as everything else that he's done in his career. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves. Until the next video, I'll see you next time. Peace.